On the side of the dirt road stood a luxurious foreign car. Its doors and the body were heavily splattered with mud, and the windshield looked as if a dozen sheep had danced on it. 3 young men, some of them not even 20, were standing next to the car. Such young men are often referred to as rich kids for their extravagant behavior, excessive spending, and a habit of dressing immaculately. All 3 were friends and were studying together at the economics faculty. Nikita, Vadim, and Sevo were accustomed to the idea that they were allowed to do anything in life, without exception. Expensive restaurants, nightclubs, and parties that lasted until dawn were constantly changing in the kaleidoscope of joyful events that filled their lives with a sense of unprecedented freedom and power. They often partied to the fullest, forgetting that they had classes at the university the next morning. Today, instead of returning home after another party, they decided to head out of town. Rumor had it that there was a picnic planned at one of the wealthy farmer's son's place. Nikita, Vadim, and Seva managed to join the gathering. However, they couldn't make it back home. On the way back, they managed to puncture 2 tires, and their car came to a complete stop. Despite the car belonging to Nikita, each of his friends considered it their own. Seeing the flat tires, the car owner sighed, "Well, here we can't do without a tow truck, but I don't want to talk to my dad or older brother about it. They'll just chew me out, and that's it. But what tow truck? I don't have much money on me. Maybe a couple of $100, and that's it. I need to call my dad, even though we're supposed to be in class right now. How do I explain to him that I'm stranded on the side of the road? He already threatened to block my credit card after our last escapade. Now he'll definitely do it. Let's not even try to get to the city, change, and then come back with the tow truck," Seva argued. Vadim nodded in agreement, supporting his friend's opinion. The 3 of them reeked of alcohol, as they had partied almost until sunrise, and they were only now beginning to sober up. None of the guys had ever hitchhiked before, and it felt extremely embarrassing to them. On the other hand, they say that everything happens for the first time in life, so even rich kids sometimes have to become ordinary people facing an awkward situation. Unfortunately, the traffic on this stretch of the road was sparse, which meant that the chance of catching a ride was dwindling with each passing minute. "We won't wait here until noon," Seva grumbled irritably. "Come on, don't rush it. It's not like we're in the city where buses come every 5 minutes. Something will show up eventually," Nikita replied. Vadim smirked and was about to walk towards the shade of the trees when he spotted a bus approaching from around the bend. "There it is, guys. Look, it's coming," Nikita exclaimed excitedly. Out of town, penniless and carless, the guys felt vulnerable, and they liked that feeling less and less. Only when the bus pulled up alongside them did they see that a woman in her 30s, with a characteristic headscarf covering most of her forehead, was behind the wheel. "Oh yes, here she is," Nikita blurted out as he stepped onto the bus. His friends burst into laughter, causing the passengers to startle and involuntarily sink into their seats. The smell of alcohol emanating from the trio immediately filled half the bus. Why is everyone here? The guys flopped down on an empty seat, throwing money to the driver as if giving alms to a beggar. "No need for change. Keep it for your cosmetics," Seva rudely added, almost making the female driver blush with embarrassment. Her passenger's comment touched a nerve, but she refrained from responding sarcastically, only pressing down on the gas pedal with a slight unconscious pressure. Unfortunately, there was no conductor on the bus route today, so the driver had to perform both roles. At some point, Goman, one of the slightly intoxicated guys, began to irritate her. This led the driver to turn around and say, "Guys, can you please keep it down a bit? You're not the only ones on this bus." Her words puzzled the guys. To be honest, they had long since stopped expecting anyone to defy them. Whenever they entered a restaurant, the waiter would practically shower them with kindness. If they went shopping, the store clerks would practically carry them on their hands. And it was the same everywhere they went. However, when it came to the bus driver named Anna, they had no intention of yielding or misbehaving. She was simply doing her job as instructed, but the guys couldn't forgive her for that. Nikita was the first to react, shouting throughout the bus, "You'd better watch the road. Look who's calling who an ape behind the wheel." As if there aren't enough men driving, Vadim immediately joined in with approving laughter, resembling more the howling of jackals, and tightly gripped the steering wheel. But Anna didn't lose her composure. She had heard the joke about an ape with a grenade at the wheel many times before, but it still stung coming from these young brats, causing her to purse her lips in annoyance. Another 40 minutes or so, and she would be rid of these tipsy boors who had ended up on her bus. Anna had recently taken on this route. Before this, she drove a small minibus through the narrow, car-crowded streets of the city. But she longed for the feeling of freedom that only the open road, known as the highway, could provide. She had dreamed of switching to a long-distance bus for a while. She disliked the hum of the engine, accompanied by the whisper of tires on asphalt. In those moments, she felt at one with the bus, especially in the mornings when the fresh breeze flowed through the window, caressing the driver's cool cheeks. At first, passengers were nervous and kept casting wary glances at the female driver when they saw her behind the wheel. But as time went on, they grew accustomed to her and even felt comfortable. Anna had been driving since she was 18 and was proficient behind the wheel of almost any type of vehicle, from motorcycles to trucks. However, she had obtained her truck driving license mainly out of curiosity, as she considered working as a dump truck driver too physically demanding for a woman. On the other hand, the position of a bus driver had immediately appealed to her. Her friend Zena would often roll her eyes and call her obsessed. "Why do you need all of this? You're a woman, a keeper of the hearth and all that, and here you are, competing in rallies or something. Sure, you can drive a car, that's okay, but a bus? Why did you go for it? You have a little son starting first grade, and you're a sickly mother, and you're losing your mind over these roads. Stop it. You know I've loved cars since childhood. My dad worked as a bread truck driver, taught me everything, showed me everything. How could I not become a driver? It's already become my way of escaping, helping me deal with life's blows." Her husband left her a year after their son Maxim was born. It's hard to say what influenced his decision, but there was probably a third party involved, a well-off younger lover. Although for many, Igor didn't seem like the ideal man or husband before the divorce, Anna considered him just that. Unfortunately, she realized her mistake too late, when it was already impossible to fix the situation. On the other hand, the failed marriage left her with a beautiful son who became the meaning of her life. When Anna first found herself in the bus depot, her colleagues either shook their heads in disappointment or openly criticized the female driver. No one believed that Anna could handle a bus as well as the men. She had to go through a lot before she earned respect in the workplace. There were pranks like someone placing a large stone under the bus wheels, which prevented her from moving, or smearing the door handles with something sticky, making it difficult for her to open them. From a male perspective, these were harmless pranks, but for Anna, it felt out of the ordinary. She only began to earn genuine respect when she helped a fellow driver involved in an accident. The victim was a man roughly her age who crashed into a tree due to an awkward maneuver. The owner of the car bore no blame. The reckless motorcyclist was at fault. The impact the man tried to avoid was so powerful that it could have left the motorcycle enthusiast permanently disabled if the car owner hadn't made the difficult decision. In the moment of impact with the obstacle, the car was severely deformed, causing the driver to be jarred inside. In addition, the collision damaged the fuel system, sparking a fire near the hood. Upon witnessing this horrific scene, Anna didn't hesitate. She didn't stop the bus and, grabbing a fire extinguisher, rushed to help. She acted almost automatically, as if she had participated in such rescue operations every day. To extricate the unconscious man from the car, she had to exert considerable effort. Fortunately, her efforts were not in vain, and she managed to save the driver. As soon as they moved him to a safe distance, a powerful explosion roared as the fuel tank caught fire. A little later, an ambulance arrived, summoned by one of the bus passengers. Left alone by Anna, the battle with the flames had left her with burns on her hands and face. While she could hide the wrist and forearm burns beneath long shirt sleeves, the unsightly scar on her forehead proved more challenging to conceal. Her friends suggested getting a full fringe, but Anna preferred to use a scarf. This way, her vision remained unobstructed, and she didn't have to adjust her hair every minute. The story of this incident quickly spread throughout the city, and for a while, turned Anna into a local hero. The only thing that slightly saddened her was that the rescued driver never bothered to find her and thank her for his rescue. No, Tanya didn't want money. Not at all. Perhaps a bouquet of white roses would have been enough for the brave woman. Yes, without any obligation. Although, what the heck, a bouquet of wild daisies would have left an equally lasting impression on the beautiful driver. Flowers, she loved them after cars. She considered them her #1 remedy, often using them to lift her spirits. She would gather a little bouquet of daisies on the side of a dirt road and leave them in the bus near her seat. To some extent, she regarded it as her talisman and a good omen. So now, while trying to deal with the taunts of the majors, Anna kept glancing at the bouquet of daisies as if seeking support from them. Meanwhile, Nikita and Vadim, feeling even more invulnerable, began to behave even more recklessly, not only teasing the female driver, but also bothering the passengers. Anna couldn't bear this any longer. Guys, I'm telling you again, stop this nonsense or I'll be forced to kick you off. I will have to kick you off. No matter how much you mock me, Nikita, I bet it's your first time behind the wheel, she added, while Vadim, who was usually silent, chimed in as if mocking her. The bus was filled with elderly people and children, so she could only rely on herself. At that moment, all the accumulated grievances of the past few years came crashing down on Anna. It was all here. Anger at her ex-husband who abandoned her and their son, teasing from her colleagues in the workshop, and even attitudes from some passengers. All this negativity blended into one, turning Anna into an angry force. Moreover, her anger towards the majors literally overwhelmed her, making her think only of righteous retribution. Deciding to go all the way, she stopped the bus, took off the ill-fated scarf from her head, and then pointed to the door, commanding, Get out of here as best you can. Complain to your mommies, daddies, and whoever else you want. I don't care, but I won't be driving you anymore." Nikita looked at his bewildered friends. "Well, didn't you dare to listen to the driver, especially after you saw her holding a fire extinguisher in her hands, which she intended to use for its intended purpose?" Once on the side of the road, the guys lost their bravado again. Their bravado had melted away, leaving a bitter aftertaste in their souls. Anna remained silent for a while and was about to return to the bus when a luxurious foreign car pulled up next to it. Nikita's eyes lit up with joy. "Yeah, my brother, Dmitri, you hear that?" To his friends, the opportunity to sit in an expensive Mark and be home in a few minutes had brought back their confidence. But when Nikita's brother got out of the car, his face resembled more the chiseled profile of an ancient Greek god. "How many times have I told you not to drive drunk? There's nothing left for me to do." Dmitri began, searching for him through every nook and cranny. Nikita paled. He hadn't expected this reaction from his brother, who had belittled him in front of his friends. But what happened shortly after completely shocked him. Dmitri shifted his gaze to the bus driver and froze in place. In that moment, he remembered how a year ago he had been in a car accident and spent 3 months in a coma. Upon leaving the hospital, Dmitri had a long recovery ahead of him, never knowing the name of his savior. Part of the reason for this was memory gaps that plagued him for 6 months. Only now, as Nikita's older brother, Dmitri, finally came to his senses, Did he realize that the woman standing before him was his savior, risking her life for him? From Dmitry's eyes, Anna deduced his identity. She had recognized him as well and was now experiencing the same emotions as the young businessman. In response to Nikita, Dmitry gave him a solid slap, then began to apologize, both for himself and his younger brother simultaneously. There were tears in their eyes, and Dmitry watched this scene unfold from the sidelines. The passengers couldn't hold back their tears either. It was a true drama with a happy ending. After the incident on the road, Nikita always greeted Anna warmly, honked his horn, and waved enthusiastically. Dmitry, on the other hand, went much further and became a real suitor for Anna. Sometimes he jokes about it, saying that Anna, unknowingly, saved her future husband, practically giving him a second life. But that's a completely different story.